Yeah, it's really terrible down there. I mean, can you imagine that they're like shutting down groups that are, you know, like producing print, you know, media, you know, and information for people about, you know, political theory. You know, that's what it is. I mean, it's literally burning books. Yeah, it's burning books.
Yeah.
So I see that. I think that our second guest is like coming in and out on the board. Are we ready, Dallas? Are we ready for our second guest yet? Michael Marsh. I think he's on a conversation with him right now. Ephraim. Okay, our second guest is Michael Marsh, and he's a returning guest. He's been on the show a few times, and he's going to talk about police body cams.
Yes.
Let me put him on. Okay.
I am here.
There he is. Hey, Michael, how's it going?
Hey, I'm good. How are you guys doing?
All right, Michael. Awesome.
You guys hear me good?
Awesome to have you. Yes, I hear you.
Okay. Good. I appreciate coming back on. And
we are happy to have you. Michael, I'm really curious as to what's happening. You sent me a message talking about the Florida House has proposed a bill to mandate body cams for law enforcement officers. Is that true?
Yeah, unfortunately, it actually died in committee. Unfortunately, but
oh gosh, are you serious? Like the last couple of days?
Yeah, yep. Last couple of days, it died. But just to give a little background, it was a House Bill 513, and it also had a sister bill in the Senate. The problem is this: the union presidents, you know, the union doesn't want body cameras. So, you know, this is something that when they passed a similar bill last year in response to the Corey Jones killing, House Bill 93, which did pass, but it didn't mandate body cameras. It just said, hey, if you guys have body cameras, you need to conform to these certain rules and regulations and policies. And basically, you know, that was the beginning of just trying to kind of get something in there, you know. And then Representative Al Jaquette, who has been very vocal since the Corey Jones tragedy, he drew up this House bill to just mandate it across the board, just have it to where they have no choice. If an agency conducts traffic stops, you'll go to body cams. And unfortunately, in that criminal justice committee there, you know, it died there. And
did they talk about
no
Corey Jones? Were people able to go ahead and talk about the case of Corey Jones? Could you give us just a short synopsis of what happened to Corey Jones?
Well, it's actually perfect timing because yesterday Newman Raja's hearing. But to give a little background there, Corey Jones was a young man, October 18th, 2015. He broke down the side of the road, and you would think that an officer would, you know, go check it out and see, hey, this vehicle stranded. Well, instead of doing that, he walked up to the vehicle, and Corey was actually shot at 6 times, and he died on the side of the road. And basically, Newman Raja would have walked like many other officers normally do, because we don't arrest cops. I mean, we know that, you know. And but what happened was there was a key piece of evidence. It was an AT&T. Corey was on the phone with roadside assistance, trying to get his vehicle towed. Well, if you can only imagine the horror of that operator on the other line hearing Corey's last words and hearing Corey being murdered. But this officer never thought that there was any witnesses. Thank God for the roadside assistance call, because when it came out, the FBI actually did a recreation, a simulation of what exactly took place, and you were able to hear in the killer's own words how he just walked up and screaming and cursing at Corey, never identified himself, and he was caught lying to investigators.
And he was plain clothes. He was plain clothes.
Yeah, plain clothes, unmarked van, and violated all sorts of policies. He was also basically a rookie with Palm Beach Gardens. Came over from another agency where he was problematic and had internal affairs issues there. And this is what we see in this day. We see these problematic deputies or officers get terminated from one agency, and then they're welcomed in at another agency because their certification is not pulled. That's a problem.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah,
and Newman Raja was a prime example. And here in Indian River County, we got something similar. We have a detective now who was fired for threatening to shoot a young lady in the head and lied to investigators. And it's a pattern. They're so used to being able to do it, but now things are changing. And it's the same story. So as far as what Corey goes, during this time, a lot of things changed. The agency was Palm Beach Gardens. They went to body cameras. I'm proud to say that. One of their policies now is any stranded motorists, they will, in fact, engage their body camera. So there's been strides that we have, we have gotten, and great things. But it was a tragedy. So yesterday he wanted to get off his house arrest, which is a slap in the face because it's a luxury. Okay, you're on house arrest. Corey will never have kids. Corey will never work again. So I sat through a hearing yesterday. And how old was he when
he was killed? He was a young man.
32.
How old was he? Thank you.
Corey was only 32.
And he was a musician. So this is a man, friend, that in the middle of the in the middle of the night he's driving home, his car breaks down. So he's pulled over. He calls roadside assistance. A black man. He calls roadside assistance, and the next thing you know, some strange person in a truck, unmarked, plain clothes, walks up to him, fucking kills him, shoots him 6 times. I mean, it's just sick.
And then lied about it.
Yeah.
And
yeah, right. But you guys, there've been a lot of. Michael has really led the way in Florida for the family, for Corey Jones, in showing that making them produce the audio, because that audio of the conversation that he had with the repair person. The law enforcement, roadside. The law enforcement, they tried to hold that back for a while. I mean, it took years. It took a year to get that to come forward. Seems.
Well, the most disgusting thing is how long it took. It was roughly 10 months to the date that the state attorney's office finally filed charges, and literally a year to the date yesterday that one of his charges were enhanced to an actual life felony. So that is good news.
That's good.
But
that is good
news. You see how the wheels of justice operate.
Does he have any kind of defense? Michael, does he have any kind of defense? Was he just a mean person who just wanted to have his day shooting somebody or killing somebody, or was he just a racist? Was he just having a bad night? Was he drunk? Was he? I mean, how? I don't get it. I don't understand. Whatever. I mean, do you all know even what the reason was? What was his method of thinking of just deciding to kill Corey? This doesn't make any sense.
Well, in my opinion,
I get upset. Go ahead.
Yeah, we all do. In my opinion, you got to remember something. So many of these officers that have these attitudes, these chips on their shoulder, that basically, who the hell are you? Even if you dare to try to challenge them. On that phone call, you can hear, the officer ask Corey a question, and Corey doesn't even hear what the question is. And the next thing you hear is the officer cursing at him. Now, not once do you ever hear, "Hey, I'm Officer Raja with the Palm Beach Gardens Police Department. Are you okay?" You don't hear that. You hear him cursing and screaming at him. But his story to investigators was completely different, completely changed. And, he never thought that phone call existed. So, think about it. It would have been end of the story. And literally now we're looking at something very similar up here in Indian River County. Not to change from Corey, but just to give you an idea of what I'm getting ready to work on here. We had a young lady, 21 years old. It was basically they were serving a warrant for a drug raid. This a couple months ago. Her name was Alteria Woods. And during the raid, there was a shootout between law enforcement and one of the suspects. Now, the sheriff came out and said, this individual used Alteria as a human shield. He's a coward. He did this. But story just doesn't quite make sense. For one, you got an individual that if you listen to their narrative, that she was being used as a shield. Well, in that case, it would be a hostage situation. So at what point do you stop shooting? Number one, you went in there for a drug raid. This young man was charged with numerous drug offenses. The bond hearing for a reduction comes up. All his drug charges are dropped. So you went in there for a drug raid against this young man, and they dropped that, but they enhanced it to now more attempted murder charges on a law enforcement officer. So right now, there's active investigations from the attorney's office.
Did the police officer get killed because of the shootout?
No. One of them got grazed, but they charged him with a few counts of attempted murder. But the young lady did ulterior wood. She wound up dying. She succumbed to the shot that she took.
Who shot her?
Law enforcement.
Police. Oh, man.
Yep. And
how old is she?
21.
Oh, that is just terrible,
but
Michael.
Here's the worst part of the story. As the sheriff is up there, community, what a sad day it is. Now, we've all gotten in trouble when we were younger. I mean, hell, I got plenty of mugshots that I'm proud of for the most part. But you got this young lady who she's killed, and instead of using any other picture, the sheriff uses her booking photo the one time that she was arrested while she was a juvenile. To have that picture, you criminalized her.
Because in Florida, everybody has an arrest record. This is very particular to Florida.
Oh, yeah.
Because the cops, it's a police state, I think. I mean, they're constantly arresting people. Like people out of Florida, they know that if you travel to Florida, you better watch your behind, because you might get arrested and go to jail, even though you did nothing wrong.
It's very easy here. It's very easy.
They put her
real
mugshot,
quick.
even though she's only 21 years old and she's dead.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. They had every other picture that they could have used, but they criminalized her. So June 4th,
right.
It's a Sunday from 3 to 5. The family will be there. It'll be the mom's first time speaking out because it's time, and we will march from the actual murder scene to the front of Indian River County Sheriff's Office in hopes that, number one, the sheriff will retract the fact that you chose a booking photo. Now, we know they have access to David because I've been illegally looked up, and so have others. So you could have used her DMV photo, but instead you chose to use a mugshot to criminalize her, to already put it out there that,
they do that on purpose.
She deserved
it. They
it.
want to make the narrative. Yeah, they want to create the narrative, and part of it is to criminalize her.
Right.
And they went
the way
back.
They spin. Oh, gosh.
Yeah. They have to. I mean, but here's the beautiful part about that. Now you must stick to that narrative, and that's where it's going to come to bite them back in the ass, because they went back twice to the scene, to go back to the scene with the state attorney's office, Florida Department of Law Enforcement. You mean to tell me months later, why are you still going back to the scene and trying to recreate, explain, to justify the Florida Department of Law Enforcement? The thing is, now you're stuck with that same narrative. So hopefully all this pressure and all this spotlight, because we reached out to numerous agencies all the way up the ladder. Everyone knows now about the story. We went all the way to Department of Justice with this. So now the spotlight is on them. They're going to have to do something. So hopefully it will be a mirror image what took place.
What day of the week is June 4th, Michael?
That's a Sunday. It's a Sunday
cool.
for a simple fact.
I want to head over there. I mean, I want to try and organize some, maybe like a group to come over there from my part of Florida.
Well, listen, we'll be more than welcome to have you, and we're trying to, if everything works the way it will, we should have at least 100 to 150 turn out, because the people of this community are tired of being harassed. This is a small town, predominantly black. For example, yesterday, an individual who is a witness in this case was ticketed for walking the wrong way on a sidewalk. And I just went live and showed the ticket.
No, that can't happen. No way.
Oh,
no.
Oh.
Please tell me no. No.
Section 3.16.
I don't accept it. You're kidding. No, it's not the truth. Stop.
$98 for walking the wrong way on a sidewalk.
But that was a crime. I didn't even know that was a crime.
There is a Florida state statute. It's on the books.
You know what the problem is, Michael? I mean, one of the problems, well, we have a lot of problems. But there is no expiration date on any of these laws dating back to decades
it's
ago.
like adultery. Yeah.
Yeah, so they make a law and they never ever put an expiration date. So like it would be like wise, like, hey, if this doesn't work out in the next 2 to 3 or 4 years, let's determine that we should end it or we should do something else or let's reconvene and see what's going on. No. They don't have they can't do that. So these laws just keep going on and on and on and on. They mean nothing. You know what they mean? Law enforcement can manipulate the laws to use it to their advantage, which is, retaliation and keeping people quiet.
How do you walk down the wrong way down the sidewalk? I don't understand that.
I know, it makes no sense.
So the statute basically says...
You have the statute number.
Yes. Yeah, I just went live and I showed the ticket. It's 316.
I'm going to write down.
Hold on. I had it memorized. 2 seconds. I'll tell you exactly what it is. It is...
I'll take it.
Florida State Statute 316.130 subsection 4, which basically reads that if you're walking towards traffic, you cannot walk in. You have to walk towards incoming traffic. This way you can see what's coming up. You can't walk the opposite way because then a car, I guess, can kill you because they won't see you're a person. And if
but
a sidewalk
they're walking on the sidewalk.
Exactly.
So it has nothing to do with vehicles.
Well, correct, because it's a sidewalk, you would think. But that's how the statute reads, and it's $98 for committing that infraction. $98. But the suspicious part is this is a witness who's been harassed. She's been told that basically she needs to follow their version of it, or she can go to jail for lying, and it's a very scary.
Would she be willing to go on the record? Would she be willing to go on the record with me? I'd love to write a story about this.
Well, that's actually what I'm working on, because not only was she given a ticket, a couple other things have happened, and I'm waiting to hear back from her because it's a scary thing. I mean, I can't imagine, basically. Well, I could imagine being stalked by law enforcement because they've done this to me before. But I'm used to it. So I'm waiting for her to get back to me.
Let's just reminisce for a minute. Wasn't it the last time you were on our show?
Yeah, that was.
Did you not? Oh. Didn't you get arrested? Oh, no, not arrested. You got pulled over at the exact time that you were going to be on our show.
While I was walking 5 minutes before, and I'll tell you what happened after that, because that deputy will wish today he never did that, because I got his ass with internal affairs after that. But what happened was, literally, I'm walking, and I'm told, hey, get over here. And I'm like, for what? And I knew who a couple of them were.
Hey, get over here? Like some dude out of the bushes? Okay, get over here.
That's basically they did. They literally pulled out of nowhere. And
oh my gosh!
And I said, well, what's the problem? Do you have your ID? And I said, no, I'm walking. Give me all your information. I said, can you get a sergeant? Because I don't feel I feel threatened right now. You're not getting a sergeant. So then I went Facebook Live. Make a long story short, he thought I was a black male because there was a report that a black male was.
I remember this. That was so funny. And you're like, dude, I'm not black. Dude, I'm not black. And he's like, yeah, I know you're not black, but yeah.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
That's incredible.
But
yeah, it was beautiful. Incredible. Yeah.
It was. But what happened afterwards, so I said, okay, that's cool. Let me start pulling some of your dash cam footage there, Mr. Thimmer. So I pulled his dash cam footage, and what do I see? Excessive speeding, multiple. I'm talking about every day that I went through the footage. He's doing 15, 20, 25 miles over the limit. Now, if we were to do that, that would constitute reckless driving for that excessive amount of speed. So I just wanted my internal affairs, my favorite internal affairs, to know what was going on. And they sustained the complaint. And I had to do a lot of legwork. I had to figure out latitude and longitude to prove to them exactly where he was. And I did it. Oh, I did it.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Of course you did.
But that's what it takes. If you see some of these videos, you would say, how in the world are these deputies actually out there? I mean, I'm listening to deputies not know about drugs, driving around with prisoners, 20 miles over the speed limit, basically hanging out at the hospital doing absolutely nothing. You know, this is why they don't want to go to body cameras, because their dash cameras get them in trouble, let alone go into a body camera that would even be more detailed. You know, so it's an absolute travesty, and we're going to keep exposing them at every step of the way. It's about, see, lawsuits changes things. That's the only way you can change anything, because they don't give a damn. They really don't. We got almost $1.4 million in lawsuits. Right now, we have a class action lawsuit. We have multiple other lawsuits that Indian River County Sheriff's Office is facing. I mean, at what point do we justify body cams? You know? And this is taxpayers' dollars that are being wasted. This is wasteful spending. These lawsuits, let's get body cameras. So if your deputies are not wrong,
they're either going to get the body cams, or they're going to hold these people accountable. Because as soon as you start holding people accountable, it's two effects. So it's a deterrent effect. So people like, oh, shoot. You get the first thing is that you get busted, you get put away, you go to jail, you get busted. That's the first effect. The second effect is that other law enforcement officers are watching that, and they're like, oh, shoot, I can't do that. It's like, I might go to jail. So then there's your deterrent effect. And then it would minimize, actually, probably dramatically, I would think. But no. You know, they don't do that. If they just hold people accountable for their crimes, because these are crimes that they're committing, acting, operating above the law. All you have to do is hold them accountable, and number one, it stops them from doing it, and number two, you have the deterrent effect, and we move on. But because they don't do that, we have to push body cams. You know what I mean? Like, they can't have it both ways. If you don't want look, I wouldn't want, if I was, employed by the state and, or wherever, I mean, I suppose it would be really uncomfortable to have, like, a body cam, following me around. Like, it would definitely be, like, uncomfortable. Like, I kind of get that. So, I mean, but not to the point where I don't support it. I do support body cams for law enforcement, particularly, I mean, in these situations that are so terrible and it's so out of control. But really, all they have to do, if they really don't want the invasion, all they have to do is train the law enforcement not to fucking do this. But they don't. But they don't.
Yeah.
Well, I think there was a kid who he was talking about a way to get a drone to actually come up off the police car or the sheriff's vehicle, or patrol car, that whenever they're on a scene, this little mini drone would come in and actually hover over them, won't touch them, and record everything that's being done. That would scare the living daylights out of these police and law enforcement, because that drone, the only thing they could do is try to shoot it, but the thing is, it'll record everything. Michael, that would scare the living daylights out of them.
Oh, listen, they would shoot that drone down so quick. That drone would be in pieces by the time it got anywhere near them. The last thing I wanted to mention real quick is, because people like us, we're very interesting in law enforcement, and what I mean by that is the database that they use with the DMV, it's an absolute invasion of our privacy. Case in point, most people, when I had this conversation, unless it's law enforcement, they don't even know what David means. They're like, who's David? But this database is being used illegally every single day, and the normal layperson will never know it unless they're sophisticated enough to know, hey, I want to request my David log. And this is what I've done, and I've gotten others to do it, because basically anytime law enforcement pulls you over, they have access to the database that has all your personal information. Now, if it's official police business,
that's
they can pull your name.
By the way. That's a violation of the Fourth Amendment.
Oh, they're getting ready to get sued over it. But the thing is, most people, you would never know, for example, your name was being ran unless you did this inquiry. I did the inquiry, found that I was being illegally investigated. So they justify it by they have to pick a box. Okay, why are you accessing Michael Marsh's information? Is it traffic related? Is it a criminal investigation? Is it a missing person? They have to check a box, but they have to be able to justify it. But most of the time, you would never know this is taking place because, for one, you would not even know how to request it. And this is what we need to do. We need to educate the people because political elections, just for the fun of it, these deputies and officers are abusing this system. And in the state of Florida, it actually constitutes a first-degree misdemeanor for misuse of the David system. But how scary is that? For example, someone's like, oh, there's Raquel. I heard her talking about me the other day on that little podcast. I want to know where she lives. Within seconds, I know where you live, the cars you drive. I know everything about you, even your emergency contact information.
I don't like that at all. No. Yeah, it's terrible. It's definitely unconstitutional. That's why I call Florida a police state. We definitely have to talk, Michael, after the show. It's because I want to request one.
Yeah, definitely. Send me a message. I'll show you verbatim. Literally, I could do the request for you. It's 123. It's very cheap to do. Literally, you do one with Florida Department of Law Enforcement. For example, with mine was about $100, but that's because I raised so much hell within so many counties. But, I'll send you a message and show you exactly how to do it. And more people need to do it. Every single person that's in activism in some capacity needs to do this because it is a hefty, hefty fine and a lawsuit for every time they access it illegally.
I just don't know how they do a lot of stuff that they're not supposed to. It's really unfortunate. And then they're not, it's the fox watching over the hen house all the time.
Yeah. Think about who are you going to go to? If the local sheriff's office does something to you, you go to Florida Department of Law Enforcement, and you know what they say to you? Oh, yeah, we don't deal with this. We can't investigate cops. Go to your state attorney's office. Everyone points fingers. I literally got an email that basically sends so many words. We don't investigate cops. That's scary. What are you going to do when a cop violates you? Florida Department of Law Enforcement won't do none. State Attorney's Office won't do none. Department of Justice will not come in a police department or a sheriff's office unless they are voluntarily asked to come in. How insane is that? Why do we have these agencies? They're absolutely useless, like good old Department of Children.
They're not. And in fact, they sort of reinforce the same harassment that the counties, the sheriffs, the PDs are doing across the state. Florida Department of Law Enforcement, they're no help to the people, none at all. From the people that I spoke to, Michael, 5 years ago when I first moved to Florida, I was a victim of police brutality, and I know firsthand, and it was really, really shocking to me what was going on. I had a police officer, a sheriff's deputy, whisper in my ear, "If you tell anybody," and threaten me, and it just was like an awful experience. And I really don't talk about it a lot, but it's been a while now. I didn't want to go through the whole, civil rights lawsuit just because it would be such an emotional strain on me that I didn't want to, relive all of that. But the situation, and I hate to just keep pointing fingers at Florida because I know it goes on in other states, but the only thing that I can compare it to is New York State. And in New York State, in New York City even particularly, it's almost like, we got other things to worry about. There's like real shit going down. They don't care what Raquel is doing. And they're not interested in arresting me. I'm a good girl. And, what they're interested in is getting, the crackheads, it's stealing the cars and, robbing people and breaking and entering and shit like that. And that's what they're interested in because there's crime. There's real crime. And I've had not great experiences with NYPD all the time, but I've never seen, just through, communication with my friends and just, growing up there and living there my life, I haven't seen, except for some of the highlighted cases, in the news, which are terrible. The one in Staten Island, of course, stalking death. But compared to Florida, it's a whole different ball game. You come down here and they're like, they just rule the fucking world. And they're all over the place, law enforcement. It's almost like, they're all over the place. I grew up in New York City, right, Queens County, and I've never seen so many cops in my life.
Yeah.
I've never seen so many cops in my life. Why? Why? You know, I live in a nice neighborhood, New Tampa. It's like built up. I live in a gated community, and there's no, not that I know of. I don't read anything in the newspaper, local papers, or anything about any real crime going on in my neighborhood. So why is there like cops on the corner and the other corner, and you know, everywhere I seem to turn around? I don't really need him there. I don't need that cop there. He doesn't help me. I don't want to pay his salary. I don't want to pay his retirement, his health insurance. I don't want to pay it all for what? But this is the state of Florida. They're using federal funding because they're going back to D.C. every year, the governor's office, and they're collecting money to do anything that the federal government says. So the federal government says, look, we have all these excess military equipment that, hey, you can go and put it in your, you know, go ahead and put it in your sheriff's office because you might need, you know, a tank. You might need a tank because that person living in New Tampa, my neighbor, they just might do something so terrible that you need a fucking tank. Okay, so then this is what the governor's office does, is they go back to the federal government and say, give us all your tanks. And then the federal government, you know, it's like payback. Then the federal government says, now you have to do what we say. Go, you know, go harass everybody, you know. It's concerted. I mean, it's a concerted effort to do this to people like us who want, you know, you just want freedom. I just get sick of it. What can I say?
Yeah, it's an absolute travesty of justice, Raquel. It really is.
But I really appreciate everything that you do, Michael, not just in Indian River, but I know that you're working across the state to talk to legislators about the body cam legislation. Now, did you start the body cam legislation out of Corey Jones being killed?
So what happened was local representatives who actually knew Corey, you know, it's one of those things that it's a great thing to actually see your local politicians trying to really make change and not just get elected and do absolutely nothing. So during this case, there was a bunch of different organizations and a lot of us that got together. And, you know, it's good to know people in high places. And literally after the tragedy, legislature was created quite quickly. And I was going to local police departments and sheriff's office, and actually was very close with the assistant chief in Garnes where Corey was killed. And, you know, I did all the research from different companies, the cloud storage, the training. And I'm like, listen, there's no excuse. Hell, I've done all the legwork. And, you know, finally the police department, and I was actually there today, the city council approved it. And here's the thing. If they're not going to go to the body cams, at least create a body cam committee that is researching what it would take. Hey, should we buy them or lease them? Because I've done the research. You know, I can tell you what a medium-sized agency, just off the top of my head, numbers. You know, so they should be able to do the same thing and at least propose it to your city council or to your county commissioners. That's all I'm asking for. So that's what I do. I go to these cities, go to these counties one by one. I go in front of the city council. I explain to them that Corey Jones was my childhood friend and explain what the need is. And most of the cities, but we don't have problems here. But Palm Beach Gardens didn't have problems either when Corey was killed. So you can't use that. We need to be in front of the 8 ball. You know, we got to be in front of the 8 ball. And next legislative session, it'll get reintroduced again, and we're not going to stop. And in the meanwhile, we're going to keep constantly putting pressure on these agencies because one thing I was taught, numbers don't lie. And when you have all these lawsuits for civil rights violations and excessive force, and we're just paying out, because who cares? It's not their money. Think about it. Why should a cop care? It's not their money. If we start suing them personally and not have the taxpayers' money pay for these ridiculous lawsuits, don't you think they would think twice? Wait a second, you're going to come after my assets or come after my money? They would care. But it's our money that's being wasted. So I will not stop. And there is
so your
no
argument. So when you show up at these municipalities, your argument is that you'll actually save money because once the body cam is on the law enforcement officer, they stop.
Yes.
They will stop committing these crimes, and they are crimes. And that makes a lot of sense. And you know what? It also makes a lot of sense to make the argument hit their pockets because people care about their money. And then they think, oh, shoot, it will save money. Never mind that, it saves lives. like I'm more concerned about the lives part. But no, it's just great work that you're doing, Michael. So you're getting municipalities to get it done. So you got Palm Beach. Palm Beach has body cams on all their law enforcement officers.
All their law enforcement, a few surrounding cities just a few days ago. The city me and Corey grew up, Boynton Beach, they went to body cameras. Delray Beaches went to body cameras. Locally, I sat down with two police departments, Sebastian Police Department, Vero Beach. They're both in conversations, doing the research, looking at different companies. And at the bare minimum, that's all I expect. There should be no reason in 2017, when this emerging technology has been out for almost a decade, that a sheriff can say to me, I don't know what it would cost my medium-sized agency. That, to me, is deplorable. How in the world can you be in your position and you can't even tell me what these cameras would cost, but I can rattle off the top of my head? That's, to me, tells me that he does not care about the community, and he doesn't care about his own officers. No.
They're blocking it. Yeah, they're blocking it already.
One lawsuit costs millions of dollars. A young man in Palm Beach that was shot and paralyzed, $26 million payout. He's not even dead. Can you imagine if he died? $26 million. Now,
what happened to him? He was shot by law enforcement?
$200,000. Yeah, he was shot by law enforcement. And then literally they arrested him for selling drugs shortly after he won the lawsuit. Go figure, huh? You can't make this up.
Florida.
You can't make it up.
Yeah.
Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, that's what happens. Constantly it's retaliation. Another case, Derek Washington, up here in Indian River County. As soon as the family went to file a lawsuit, they charged his son with attempted murder. So, how does it spell out retaliation? We're using these entities, the state attorney's office, all of these as a retaliatory means of, oh, you want to come after us? Watch how we come after you. And the state has endless amounts of money to come after you. They're not going to get broke coming after you.
Have you reached out to the federal government? Because like the FBI or something? Because, really what their job is really supposed to be a watchdog over those municipalities who are overstepping their boundaries. It sounds to me that at this point, it sounds so bad that I think that the FBI should be involved.
Yeah, that is going to be the next step. I stopped at the Department of Justice when I was told that, we can't come in and really do anything unless we're invited by the agency. And I sat there and said to myself, why the hell do you exist? What sheriff or police chief is going to say, hey, guys, I don't think I'm working too well. Can you come give me a report card real quick and give me some recommendations because I just don't know how to do this job? Come on now. That in itself is nuts to me.
If they have indictments, if they have evidence of malfeasance, they will come in and they will investigate. I've seen it done in Louisiana, St. Tammany Parish. They came in. There were just so many stories that had come out in the media about corruption within that, including some stories that I wrote that had come out of that county, that parish in Louisiana. And the feds came in and they made arrests. They arrested the district attorney. They arrested him and a federal grand jury convicted him on 17 of 18 counts of a whole bunch of stuff that he did inappropriate. This was the DA. So you could just imagine what was going on in this county. I was really excited, about, because I had written a series of articles about it, actually. So I think that it can be done, and that's why it sort of popped in my head with respect to the FBI.
So they don't have an oversight?
Say again?
Michael, they don't have an oversight, the U.S. Attorney and the FBI in the state of Florida. They don't oversee federal criminal cases or any type of abuse, or is it there has to be some extraordinary thing for them to get involved?
No, the state has their own type of commission board that basically looks at corruption. But the two-tier system to prove corruption, basically, one, you have to prove that the person is in power, which is easy, but you have to also show what type of benefit that they were able to get, which usually that's geared more towards monetarily. You know, how did they get money out of it? But it's not always about money. I mean, people could use their position to say, you know what, I don't like you, so we'll make sure this motion gets denied, or your indigency status will be denied because you just happen to be a person who likes to record me all the time. So, you know, it's not always about what compensation they're getting, the fact that they're illegally using their position, you know, of power. So, yes, we have that ethical board there, but there really is no checks and balance. There really, I mean, think about it. The sheriff reports to the governor. So what are you going to do? Call the governor up and say, hey, governor, I don't like how this is working out with this sheriff. You think you can investigate him real quick? I mean, come on now. You know, you're not speaking to anyone in the governor's office. And when you do, you're going to get a nice verbatim letter that says, thank you so much, Mr. Marsh, for contacting us. We appreciate you telling us about that corruption, and we'll forward it on to the appropriate agency who will handle that for you. I mean, they wrap it in a bow. Right. You know, and
then they send it back to the same agency that you're complaining about.
Exactly.
That I've seen too.
That's actually what my letter really said. It said, go to internal affairs of your local sheriff's office. And I said, I did. They committed a crime and actually admitted he violated policy. Now what are you going to do? Oh, well, it's already been taken care of then, Mr. Marsh. No, I want him to go to jail because he committed a crime. How does that work? You know, and it's dead after that. But it's also the media, too. If you ever think about it, the media, a lot of these outlets, they don't want to piss off the sheriff. So they watch what type of stories they do. So that is one of the biggest things.
Yeah, and you know what else, Michael? Every sheriff's office has a public relations office, and that office feeds the reporters the news because, you know, somebody got shot, this place got robbed, you know, and so on. So they develop a friendly relationship, and no, they don't want to go out there and say anything bad, and then the whole cover-up kind of thing, yeah.
And that's the problem, because as soon as the story that they want to be released, that's why there's a few different outlets, and a couple of them that was very, very good when it came to the Corey Jones shooting, that were very unbiased. But you don't get that, because so many of them are afraid that, hey, if we write this story, then what happens if we need a story and then we go to the agency and now they don't want to talk to us? And
exactly.
That's not what the press was put in place for, you know. That is not freedom of the press.
We're supposed to be a watchdog, right? The press is supposed to be a watchdog.
But that has went out the window.
Yeah, no, they're on it. It's not. Yeah. I mean, we have the three branches of government, you know, that are supposed to operate independently, but it just seems that they don't, because the legislature are controlling the court. You know, the court, like whatever the legislature determines, the courts just manipulate it and, you know, throw people in jail, charge people money. It's like it's all about taking away people's freedom. At the end of the day, you know, it always seems like it all boils down to how can the government take away your freedom? Because for some, you know, that's in their pockets and, you know, however it works.
Yeah.
So frustrating. But what I'd like you to do, Michael, is I'd like you to put me in touch with some of the particular victims in your county. And I'll definitely write a story about their case and just put it out there. Because what I've seen happen in the past is when I've worked for, you know, alternate media places, not in the mainstream, if the alternate media keeps covering, this is what happened in St. Tammany Parish. It sort of forced the feds to come in, and it also forced the local papers to cover it. So when you have independent media, you know, kind of like banging them on the head, because we had this really corrupt sheriff, which we ousted in an election, by the way, and he's also being investigated, Sheriff Jack Strain. He's not the sheriff anymore, a former sheriff. A lot of I was writing for Human Events at the time, and I was writing a series about the corruption. I was interviewing the victims of this corrupt sheriff. And 2 weeks, the timing was freaking perfect. It must have been like 10 days. No, it was less than that. It was like 7 days before. It was a special election for sheriff. 7 days before special election. I had been working on a story that I had found that had been tipped to me about his sister-in-law was sexually molested by him when she was a young teen.
Really?
And I got that information, and I broke that story, like I said, about 7 days before election, and it was right around the time where the county was having their yearly fair, big fair, and the people that, who on my side basically were trying to expose the sheriff. It wasn't just me; it was a whole bunch of us. They ended up printing that article in the hundreds and distributing it at the fair. So we had a 2-decade sheriff incumbent running in an election. They're guaranteed to win. They always win because they have all the connections. But no. Yeah. And I was on a three-way call with some of the people that I was working with on these stories. And when he lost that election, it was just so big. That story broke everybody. It was so big. I was crying. I was literally crying because it took us years. I was writing. I wrote probably 17, 18 stories on this particular, just on this county, whether it was a DA or the sheriff. But these are all corruption stories. And once I started hitting these, I had a police brutality case. I had a whole bunch of stuff. And once I started hitting these cases and they really started getting read, the local media picked up these stories as well. And then time went by, FBI came in, we got the DA, convicted by a federal grand jury. Eventually, but it was people it was organizations contacting the FBI. There was an organization there called Concerned Citizens for St. Tammany Parish. And what they did was they took in cases, civil rights actions against law enforcement, things like that. And they just, became very vocal. They had a website. They produced, they still do, press releases. They're on it. When I was covering the story, I called them up. They'd give me interviews anytime. We exposed. We just kept hitting them. We kept hitting them hard. But it took years. It took, I'm saying almost 4 years to take them down. But it's doable.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is, and we will not stop. And like you said, it doesn't matter if it's 20 years. Eventually, once you get the word out, and these people see, the problem is getting it out of a small little town. For example, in Gifford, the people over on the beach side, they have no idea what's taking place. That's why you got to get in front of the county commissioners. You got to explain that, hey, this is a point of interest. Even if you can't, make any decision, we want the people of this county to know that this is taking place. And even though you may not be able to tell the sheriff what to do, we want the people to know this is taking place. It's not in your backyard, but it's this county. And this is what you're electing back into office. And that's what we're shooting for, and that's what has not happened time after time. Because, the poor communities or the predominantly black and minority communities, who's getting their story out there? All you do is hear the negative of, there's another shooting. Yeah, but come on. The shootings everywhere. Though, it may be more concentrated there, but to me, I just think that it's an absolute disgrace that a deputy could be killed in the line of duty and they can only raise $5,000 to the sheriff's office. But his political campaign, he almost raised $90,000. That's a real number that went somewhere. That should speak volumes in itself.
It does. Sure. Hey, Michael, have you been on our show at the second hour before and know what we do at the end of the show as a tradition? You know what we do?
What do we do? We say, I am you, are we our team success?
We get naked and play poker.
Oh. Well, I was with you, but I don't know about everything over there.
Okay, so we talk a lot about government and corruption and things that the mainstream doesn't talk about. So, but at the same time, Ephraim and I, we really love our country, and we really just want to see things, be the right way. We want to see justice, and justice is the truth. Search for the truth. What we do is we sing the national anthem out loud.
Okay.
Okay, cool. So we want you to join us, and we're going to sing it to Alicia. Ephraim is really good at it. I'm getting better at it because it's practice, but it's hard to sing with Alicia Keys. So she'll be singing it, and Ephraim sings good, and I do, and sometimes the guests don't sing when I ask them to, but feel free to just sing. We sing along with her, so it's not all on you or anything.
Okay. I shall try or.
Okay, cool. I'm so glad. And it's just a way for us to say that we're not anti-American.
Exactly.
Because we're actually, the very opposite. What we want is, we just want what our founding fathers intended, which is very limited government and freedom, individual rights, and that's not happening right now. So we complain a lot. I think we're ready. I think we're going to start. Dallas, I know you're on it. That's my engineer in the background.
Okay.
Michael,
I think we're getting ready to start.
You keep up the good work.
Honor America. 14-time Grammy Award winner, Alicia Keys.
But thanks again, Michael, so much for coming on. You'll have to come on again. God bless you.
Oh, say, can you see by the light, but so proudly we hailed at the twilight last gleaming, whose broad stripes and guide through the perilous fight. For the world once we won, we're so in the ragged red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, take us that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of living in
Oh, that was great. We have about 10 seconds.
That was great.
Thanks, everybody. Really good show. Thanks so much, Michael. Appreciate it.
Take care. Good night, guys.
God bless you. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Hey, Charlotte County. This is Charlotte County COPWATCH, and I wanted to explain what fair use is. You can use pieces of news articles if you're doing it for news reporting, you have commentary, and you're doing it for education purposes. So that's what fair uses, as you can see right here. Another reason why I wanted to make this video is to let you know I have just joined with Patreon. A nice thing with Patreon, I make no money on YouTube. They took the money away years ago. And so this is another way to give, and it's a nice thing too, because you can give monthly. You can give $1, $5, $10, whatever. I do 4 to 5 hours a day on trying to wake the sheeple up on how corrupt it is and different ways that you can fight the corruption. So Patreon is a way that you can do it, and then of course the old way is still there. Donate to Sheriff County Cop Watch with PayPal or credit card. So keep that in mind. 4 to 5 hours a day. I make no money, but the corruption happened to me, and I'm sick of it. So I'm trying to wake people up. But my wife would love it if if we could get some help out there. There's 47,000 subscribers. Just think if each one of you subscribers just gave let's say actually yes, $1 a month. 47,000 subscribers gave $1 a month. That would be awesome. That's not going to happen. But anyways, that would be great if it did happen. But do the math in your head. Just think about it. Like I said, 4 to 5 hours a day. I get no money from YouTube. YouTube has gone nuts. You can't do anything anymore. They're taking the money away everywhere. So these are a couple different ways that you can still help out with all this time that I put in. And as you know, I'm in a special situation where, at least I can do it, 4 to 5 hours a day. We have a cleaning company during the day. That's what allows me to do this, and we're debt free. So this is my hobby. I don't go fishing and all that other crap. I try to save the world. So help me out to make the wife happy, man. In fact, if you guys did give $1 a day, and there was 47,000 of you, and you did it, and each of you gave $1, and that was every month, oh my God, yes, I could quit. I could start suing them. Another idea too that we have is, if I got, some funds, we could actually contact everyone that has been ticketed and or arrested and put in jail and start sending them postcards to let them know we're here, and to see if everything went all right, and if it didn't, find out their story. So we could even do more investigations and more lawsuits. Lawsuits take money. So just think about that. 47,000 of you so far right now. $1 a day. $1 a month on Patreon, or $5 a month Patreon, 10, 20, whatever. Just do the math in your head. Help out. This is a lot of work every single day.